Episode number 5 of the Kegger Media Podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, send some comments down below on things you want us to talk about. We'll debate anything. We'll talk about anything sports related. Let's get into it. Last night was a big game, huge game. I think we have found a new rivalry in the NBA, and the only way that a rivalry has to happen now, you just make a crazy trade. Didn't that player who gets traded, Luka Doncic, he comes out fired up, okay? That game was unbelievable to watch. It didn't look like a guy who weighs 390 pounds like they're all saying, out of shape. No, I think Luka is a changed man. I think he's going to come in hot. What are your thoughts about the game last night? I thought it was unbelievable to watch. I thought it was fun.
Yeah, no, I thought the same. Like, it was an incredible game. Kind of sucks that the Mavs aren't fully healthy, but I am really hoping for a playoff series between these two teams at some point this year. And I think it will actually happen. Like, the Lakers are sitting at 4, Dallas is at 8. I could see them kind of sneaking up to the 5 or 6 range. So I think it's a real possibility that we see them matching up in the playoffs at some point. And if the Mavs are healthy, I think that's going to be a great series. Like, Luka's fired up. You know, if AD comes back healthy, he's going to be fired up. Kyrie's playing some of the best basketball of his career. Klay Thompson's still got a little in the tank. So, yeah, I'm excited, and it looks like a real rivalry. Like, I don't really know that the players hate each other, but Luka has a lot of resentment for that Mavs team, and that showed on the court last night. Both teams were playing 100%, and it was just fun basketball to watch. So, yeah, playoff series. What do you think would happen between those two teams?
So that's something I kind of want to get into that I'm interested about because there was portions of that game where I thought the Lakers were just going to run away with it. They were looking outstanding. The team was thriving, all this stuff. But then you're just like, wait, it ended up being a close game. 5 minutes left, 6 minutes left. It was back to being tied. And then you look at the Mavericks roster and you're like, okay, you're missing a lot of key pieces. All of a sudden you realize too, Klay Thompson still has some left in him. Kyrie is unbelievable. Okay, that guy truly is generational point guard. And so you start adding that 3-point shooting, then you get the big men back. The Lakers were playing healthy. And so to be honest, I know you had brought this up a while back and also on some of our TikToks. If AD can be healthy, that Mavericks team, I actually think, won the trade short term. Obviously,
Yeah,
long term, Luka's a generational talent. He's going to be around for the next 10, 15 years. Short term, though, if you can get AD healthy, I actually think the Mavericks can win a series against the Lakers.
no, I agree 100%. It's like looking at last night's game. So they had AD out. You had Gafford and Lively. Their two centers were both out. Caleb Martin, another role player that they just got, he was out. And then Dante Exum exited the game after getting injured by LeBron. He hit a couple threes right before that, so he was kind of rolling. So the
And he's
Mavs were
also a
missing a
big
lot of
piece for
key
their
players.
defense. Like, Exum is
Yeah,
an unbelievable defender at the point guard and even shooting guard, and he's a taller point guard, so he can guard that small forward position too and move around that. It's like he left the game.
yeah. So it's like right there, that's 5 key pieces that they were missing. And the whole Lakers starting lineup. Like LeBron had a great game in the fourth quarter, great game overall, super efficient. Luka had a triple double. Rui and Reeves both hit some shots. Jackson Hayes, I think he was 4 for 5. So it's like their whole starting lineup played great. The Mavs were missing 5 key pieces, and the game was still tied with 5 minutes left. It's like that's such a good sign if you're a Mavs fan. You're like, we have so much more, and we're already competing with a top 4 seed in the West. It's like, what is this team going to look like when we're healthy? Like, they could actually be contenders.
Yeah, what do you think is going to happen? Because with AD sitting out as much as he has been sitting out, do you think that they're just making sure that he's going to be 100% by the time he comes back? Because when you're sitting there as a coach, general manager, even the training, it's like, okay, you realize this guy has been injury prone. What is the best way we can get him back on the court? Do you think they're going to he could miss longer than what you'd normally think with an injury like this, just so you're like, okay, we need you come playoff time.
Yeah, 100%. Like I think with a guy like AD for like specifically with just such a long injury history, you just got to be super cautious, especially this late in the season with playoffs coming up. You got to be cautious. let him take time to come back fully healthy so that he's ready for the playoffs. Like, I'd rather have a healthy AD in the playoffs as the 8 or 9 seed than somebody that's going to miss half of our playoff games, even though we're the 6th seed. So it's like I would trade some games in the regular season for playoff wins down the road. So yeah, I think that's kind of what the Mavs are doing. They just get him super healthy, get the centers super healthy. Come playoff time, we're ready to roll.
When do you think this whole stuff with Luka is going to end, with him being out of shape, different things going on with the Mavericks? I saw another report leaked today, and so somebody's talking amongst the Mavs, just pushing stuff out. I don't know what's going on, but they were talking about the Dallas organization was having issues with Luka drinking beer and then also smoking hookah. I saw hookah Luka was trending. Where I look at it in the way of, go back to the 90s, go back to players winning championships. They're sucking on cigars, okay? You also have Michael Jordan, big cigar guy. These other players. When are the reports going to stop with that stuff? And you just come down to the fact, I just don't think you guys wanted to pay him, okay? Because we've seen the way Luka plays. It's not like we're talking about a guy like Ja Morant that uses his athleticism, Zion Williamson, okay? Luka doesn't have to be the top athlete on the team. He's like a Jokic. So I think the Mavericks, just something has to change with the way this organization is. Just move past it and keep getting better. I'm tired of this whole Luka report coming out.
No, I feel like it just, all the excuses and all the stories, it's just proof that they know that they lost the trade. It's like they know that they made a dumb move, and now they're just trying to justify it any way they can. It's like, it's okay to just admit, we think AD gives us a better chance to win now. Luka does have some concerns with his conditioning and his injury history, so we think AD can help us win now. Long-term, Luka probably wouldn't be the answer to win multiple championships. So I'd rather the Mavs just came out and were straight up and said that's the reason. But now they just come out with different justification. Oh, we think he's going to get injured. He does too much hookah. He drinks too much. He's out of shape. And like, it just looks so bad on the Mavs end. And until they either win a title and prove everyone wrong that we made the right decision, the trade was good, or the Lakers win a title and say, see, told you the trade was dumb, Luka's the answer. Until one of them wins the title, I think we're going to keep seeing these excuses from the Mavs until there's like closure to the final story.
Yeah, and do you think this is going to hurt the Mavericks when it comes to future players as well? And I'm saying that in the sense of each NBA team's its own business. Yes, they're under the umbrella of the NBA, but you also have to want players to come play for you, okay? You hear about different situations. It can be a small market team, but you have a great owner, great general manager, amazing head coach. You may end up getting some superstar to come your way, okay? So it's like, if all of a sudden you start seeing these crazy reports coming out here, well, as a player, do you want to go play for that business and be like, they may ship me off, and then you don't know what they're going to say about you? Because Luka has been almost put as like the villain in this. When you see Luka in different interviews and talked about, Luka just seems like a chill guy, there to hang out. I don't think he's ever going to get in trouble. You don't hear of him going to clubs. You don't hear of him. He almost seems like the perfect person you want for an organization because he has that Jokic factor where just kind of leave me alone. I saw him interviewed after the game yesterday, and Shaq was asking him about, you staring down the bench doing this, and Luka's just like, yeah, I was pretty fired up. He's just a very reserved, chill guy that it's crazy he's put as a villain right now.
No, it really is. And I think the Mavs kind of screwed themselves moving forward. Like, who would want to come to an organization where you don't know if you have a future there? Like, Luka was in probably a list of like 3 to 5 people that were untouchable in the whole league. And then he gets shipped out of there. It's like, unless your name is Nikola Jokic or Victor Wembanyama, why would you want to go to the Mavs when there's a chance that if they get a better deal or if there's anything slightly concerning about your gameplay, they'll ship you right out. And it's crazy too with how good of a reputation they had just like 10 years ago when Mark Cuban was calling the shots. You had Dirk Nowitzki as your like main piece of your franchise for 15, 20 years. It's like that was kind of a smaller market destination that people actually wanted to come to and play for. Now it's like with one trade, they threw that all out the window for maybe a couple years of contending. It's like AD's 31 already, Kyrie's 32. So what? They, even if they're able to re-sign those guys long term, they maybe have 3 to 5 years to win a title. So it's like
Yeah.
they did a lot of damage to their franchise for 3 to 5 chances at a title. And I don't even think their odds are that great. There's a lot of good teams in the West. They still got to beat the Celtics or the Cavs in the East. So I think it was a bonehead move.
And that's where it is crazy. You can say whatever you want about Mark Cuban and this and that, but the guy was a fan of basketball, okay? And he appreciated the players that were there. And I guarantee if Mark Cuban was still the sole owner and had the decisions, let's say he was going to trade Luka, which he never would have done, but if he was, he would have sat Luka down and talked to him about it, okay? That's my biggest issue with this is some players earn the respect to be able to be told. They should be in decisions. They should be helping in certain things. Not only was Luka huge to the Mavericks, he was huge to the Dallas community. Okay, people
Yeah.
loved going to see Luka. That you're telling me a perfect person that beloved, who I guarantee there's nonprofits in the Dallas area that relied on Luka because he was donating money, he was helping out, he was doing this. You don't even tell the guy. You don't even sit down and talk to him about maybe they're exploring certain things. Okay, what's your thoughts on this? Or the fact that if they did have this many issues with him, why aren't you talking more and more to him? Because this caught Luka off out of nowhere. You hear him talk about that, and he's like, "I had no clue that this was coming." That's my biggest
Yeah.
thing with it is the owners, the general managers, they're in the wrong. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
And it's not really uncommon in the NBA when guys do have these concerns about their conditioning or their health history. It's like, look at Zion. Like, it's clear to him from leadership and from coaching that something needs to change. He hasn't really been making those changes, but it's clear, and it wouldn't be a surprise if they moved him at some point. Like, the Luka thing came out of nowhere, and it happened overnight. It's like,
Yeah.
I think that's the craziest thing. They didn't even wait till the summer to look into all their options, to reach out to all NBA teams and get the best trade package possible. They literally just took the first deal that somebody offered them and shipped away a generational talent that's 25 years old. It's just like, it's crazy that they would do that.
Yeah. And so with this having a generational type person and getting rid of different people, there is one thing going on in the NFL, and I'm not saying this guy generational, he's older now, but the way you handle certain things. What's your thoughts on the LA Rams possibly moving on from Matt Stafford, which I don't think it's the worst thing for the Rams. Stafford's getting older. You have Puka Nakua, still young and everything. I don't think it's the worst things, but worst thing. But the biggest thing that I have is, do you think the Raiders? Do you think he'll actually do well with the Raiders? Is Tom Brady trying to get him there? What's going on with this whole Stafford stuff?
Yeah, the move doesn't really make sense for either team in my eyes. It's like, I think the Rams, um, they kind of need to win now in my eyes. It's like you got Kyron Williams, you got Puka, they're both young, but it's like if you ship Stafford out and you draft a rookie, then you got to wait another 2 3 years for him to develop. You're kind of wasting Puka and Kyron's prime years. Cooper Cup's long gone. Your defense is all new, so it's like they're not really in win now mode, but their window's coming up real soon where I think they would need to go out and get a quarterback that's ready to win now, which they already have in Stafford. So I think Stafford makes the most sense for them for the next few years. And
Yeah,
then the
because even
Raiders,
in
I
this
don't think
draft, there's
they're.
zero like person. There's some quarterbacks who can jump right in that you hear about that. Okay, the Jaden Daniels stuff. There's not one of those in this draft. So
No,
like what you're saying, you get rid of Stafford to try and get a draft pick. Cam Ward, Shadur Sanders. I don't think either of those are going to do it.
no chance. And then on the Raiders side, it doesn't really make a lot of sense either. It's like they do need a quarterback for sure, but it's like who's he going to throw the ball to? They don't have a running back. They don't have receivers. They have a great young tight end. Their defense
And
sucks.
that's about
It's
it.
like that team needs to fully rebuild. I like that they're bringing in Pete Carroll. That might help, but like at some point you need players on the field that are going to make a difference. And uh, Matt Stafford in his mid 30s, I don't think that's going to move the needle at all. Maybe he wins them a few more games, but they're so bad, they have no chance to compete until he is probably at retirement age by the time they get players around him to help him out. So I think the Raiders would be better off using their good draft pick this year to either draft a quarterback or just help boost up their receiver room, their defense, their offensive line, something like that. But an older quarterback with on a rebuilding team just doesn't make much sense to me.
What do you think Tom Brady's influence is in this whole thing? Do you think Tom Brady being a minority owner is going to make that much of a difference to try and get people there? Because I just look at his move from the Patriots down to the Buccaneers. At that point, the Bucs had a great team. They were just missing out on that quarterback. Because I mean, Jameis Winston threw 30 touchdowns, 30 interceptions, right? But you saw the players. You saw Mike Evans. You saw the defense they had. Um, do you think there's a way that Tom Brady can talk these guys into showing that there's maybe more to the team than what there is, or do you think Stafford can look at it and realize, no, this team's not good? How big of a piece do you think Tom Brady is being a minority owner now?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's actually huge. Like, I think there's a lot of pros to Brady where it's a legitimate franchise, especially with Pete Carroll as the coach now. It's like, it's not really a laughing stock anymore. So people would want to go there. But I also think there's a downside in having Brady because Brady obviously wants to win right away. Same with Pete Carroll. He's pretty old. Like, you don't have time to fully rebuild. So they're going to go all in to get these guys like Stafford, and I'm sure they'll get some receivers in, but it's not going to make a difference. Like, they don't have enough pull to get superstar players that can win Super Bowls in this league. Like in the NFL, you need to be so good. Like these top 5, 6 teams in the NFL are just so far above every other team that it's like you can put Matt Stafford on the Raiders, but you're not going to compete with any of these other AFC teams. You're not going to beat the Bills, you're not going to beat the
No.
Ravens, and you're not going to beat the Chiefs. So it's like even if you did, then you got to get past the Lions or the Commanders or the Eagles in the NFC. It's like the top 6, 8 teams in the league right now are just too good to add one or two mid above average quarterbacks to compete.
What's
So
your thoughts on this of the
as a
what's your thoughts on this of the Rams getting rid of Stafford and then going after Sam Darnold?
yeah, I mean, I don't think that would be a bad idea. I think Darnold's going to get a lot more money than he's probably deserving, just because he had such a great season this year, and we haven't really seen it in the past. But I think that move makes sense for them. I don't really know that it's much of a up or down in terms of the quarterback position. I think him and Stafford are probably pretty even on their level of play. And Sam Darnold's quite a bit younger, so I think that move makes sense for the Rams. And if that were the case, I think it would make sense for them to ship him out somewhere to like the Raiders. So yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think that would be a bad move at all.
All right, and moving on to another NFL story that just comes around every single year. Now it's bigger than ever because they just won the Super Bowl. The Tush Push. Okay, do you think the Tush Push should be out of the NFL? The Packers just brought it up. It sounds like it's going to go to a vote. What is your thoughts on the Tush Push moving forward in the NFL?
Yeah, it's such a weird one where like I hate it in the game. It's just too powerful and it works too often. But also it only works for one team. And like we all kind of thought, oh, it's because you have the best center in the league. You got Jason Kelsey. And then he retires and it still only works for the Eagles. So like I don't understand why it only works for them. And I feel like if we were to take it away, it would be unfair to the Eagles. So on that hand, I don't think they should remove it. But on the other, it's just too dominant. Like if the Eagles have 3rd and 2 or 4th and 1, they can just run the tush push 1 or 2 times and they'll get it 95% of the time. So it's like, as a fan, that's not fun to watch. Like when you know the outcome before the play happens, that's just not fun to watch. So I wish they would get rid of it just from a fan perspective. But it does feel a bit unfair for the Eagles. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you where it's obviously boring football. It's not like a true play where you have to think of what to do and stuff. But I don't think it can be outlawed. I don't think it can be banned strictly off of every other team's allowed to do it. Okay? And like you're saying, the whole center thing, this and that. You've seen the Bills try and run it. You have Josh Allen, massive guy. Okay? You can't say that he's any weaker than Jalen Hurts or anything like that. But yet there's numerous times Josh Allen and them tried to run it, and he couldn't get it done. So you're trying to ban a play that only one out of all the teams in the NFL can run, okay, and do it correctly. Well, why aren't all these other teams trying to get to the point that the Eagles do? Now, if you see it to where every other team is doing it and they're doing it as much as the Eagles are at a 95 to 99%, then yes, look into banning it. I just don't see how you can at this point when there's only one team in the NFL that's doing it. And I agree, as a fan, it is boring to watch. It sucks. But if only one team can do it, how can you say it should be banned? It just means that you can't run a play as well as one team in the NFL can do.
Yeah, exactly. What are your thoughts on moving forward? What do you expect to happen? Do you think the league will step in and make a change? Do you think defenses will eventually learn how to stop it? Do you think other offenses will eventually learn how to do it themselves? What do you think is the most likely outcome?
Yeah, I don't think it will get banned. For right now, I can see it happening in the future because I think more and more teams, especially seeing with what the Eagles did do, because it does bring it down to where you're 1st and 9, right? I mean, that's what it 1st and 9,
Yeah,
1st and 8. They can almost run it from 2 yards out. So I think you'll see more and more teams do it. But then I also think defensive schemes you'll start doing. However, once you start doing defensive schemes, to where you're putting all the big guys in. Maybe you're even bringing linebackers up and you're pushing the linebackers on the defensive side to almost run the tush push, but on the opposite side, right? But then what's that going to do for football where you're seeing these weird lineups? And then at that point, you can almost run a play action out of it because the
yeah,
defenses are trying to almost put too many people in. So I think eventually it could get banned. I just don't think it's the right time to do it because there is just that one team that's doing it. What's your thoughts on it? Do you think right now it's going to get banned? How do you think it's going to go forward over these next couple of years?
yeah. I think other offenses will just learn how to do it. It's like the Eagles aren't doing anything special. It's not like it's this crazy play. They're literally just stronger than other teams. They know how to line up and they've figured out the play. So I think other offenses will start to learn how to do that. But like you said, it kind of sucks on the defensive perspective because it's like they can set up 11 guys in there and do a tush push of their own. But the second a team fakes it and throws it outside, it's like you're going to give up a huge play. So on that aspect, I think it's kind of unfair to defenses as well because it's like you have to sell out to stop this one play. And it's like
Mm-hmm.
if you do that, you're putting yourself at a huge risk to get burned deep. So yeah, I
I
don't
think
know.
what
I
we're
wouldn't mind.
missing on it too is not giving enough credit to how good the offensive line is for the Eagles. Okay,
Yeah,
obviously Jalen Hurts, one of the strongest quarterbacks in the NFL. You see the videos of how much he can squat, this and that, and all that. But there's something with how large that Eagles offensive line is, and you saw it during the Super Bowl where I think the average weight was like 350, something like that. Those are some big boys. And I know you lost Jason Kelsey, but my God, you brought in another big fella in there. Almost bigger than what Jason
yeah,
Kelsey wasn't a big center. That was the craziest part with him being able to run it. But now you have this offensive line that just manhandles the defense. There is no defensive line that even can penetrate that Eagles offense. When you see that tush push go, it's literally like a line. It's like an army moving
yeah.
forward. It's crazy.
Do you think the league ever jumps in from like an injury standpoint? Because I know Jason Kelsey used to talk about how he never really liked the tush push because it hurt a lot. And then in the Super Bowl, we saw Chris Jones get a little banged up from one of the tush pushes. So do you think the league ever looks at it from like an injury risk perspective and maybe bans it on that reasoning?
Yeah, so I do believe that they won't ban it strictly off one team just being successful because then that's almost showing why do you be innovative, right? Why do you be innovative in the NFL if they're just going to ban it? But when it comes to injuries, what do all those offensive linemen do? They dig down right away, right? They say get as low as possible. Well, from a defensive perspective, that's straight at your knees and everything,
Yeah,
okay? And that's exactly like Chris Jones is you're trying to get that leverage, but then also from the offensive side, as Jason Kelsey talked about how he hated it because how injured he was getting. He said you're literally just giving your body up in a sense. It's just two people going head to head. Where normal, you get it, they're pass protecting, they're run blocking. It's not going low, getting as much leverage that if it is going to get banned, I think it's going to be from that perspective, like you're saying. It's all going to be injury.
yeah, no, I agree 100%. Like from an offensive line perspective, it seems like such a risk to your neck diving right into the guy's legs, and then you have thousands of pounds laying on top of you for the next 5 to 10 seconds until the refs can clear the line. So it does seem a bit risky in terms of injuries, and it's just not great to watch. So yeah, I could definitely see the league stepping in at some point. Maybe not banning it, but maybe making some changes where you can only have one guy behind the quarterback or 7 guys need to be on the line or something to kind of mitigate how powerful that one play is.
Okay, so we're going to end with this. We are going to end with, do you think the Tush Push is going to be in the NFL in the next 5 years?
I think, yeah, I give it like another year or two. I think by 2030, I think it's fully out of the league. What do you think?
I agree with that. And I also want to end with this, that I love that it was the Green Bay Packers that came out and said this because I'm a Vikings fan. And it just shows how scared the Green Bay Packers are. And I absolutely love it. A bunch of babies up there in Green Bay, Wisconsin, okay? So keep it coming. And with that, we're signing out. Episode 5. We'll see you next week.